Rocky Mountain Hardware is made in the USA, with manufacturing in Idaho. The foundry is in Blackfoot, the machine shop is in Shoshone, and the finishing plant and headquarters is in Haley.
So the techniques that are being used today are pretty much the exact same techniques that were used thousands of years ago. But the basic making of the molds, the masters, all that sort of stuff, there's only one simple way to do it, and it's hands-on work.
Each piece begins in the pattern shop, where a craftsman hand carve and sculpt ideas into unique patterns. They utilize old world casting techniques. Foundry workers use pattern boards to create molds. Then the sand is compacted tightly to both sides of the pattern board. The pattern board is then removed and the two halves of the mold are inspected and placed back together to create the part cavity. Then the mold is ready for the bronze to be poured into it. Next, 300 pounds of bronze ingots are melted down into crucibles and heated to about 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. Then they are hand poured from the crucible into the sand molds. After cooling, parts are extracted from the molds and are ready to be taken to the next step, machine and refinement.
We call ourselves as Green Sand Foundry. What that means is that all the sand we use, we recondition that sand on an hourly basis, truly. So as we're casting and making molds, that spent sand, we will put that back into a hopper tank, let it cool down. We use water and certain clays, which recondition the sand to get it to the right compactability for the next mold. Zero waste as far as the sand.
We also use a technique called investment casting, or lost wax. This form allows for a greater level of detail as opposed to sand casting. The process requires a wax model to be produced for each part.
We will use a spent wax, then we will again remelt that back out and use it sometimes 2, sometimes 3 different times per part.
The wax part is then dipped into a ceramic slurry multiple times, requiring an extensive drying time between each dip. While this method can produce many parts in each batch, it takes much longer than sand casting to make each mold. The tree is then placed into a kiln to harden the ceramic mold, much like firing pottery. Hot molten metal or alloy is then poured into the ceramic mold. It flows into the cavities to create the bronze piece. When the bronze cools and hardens, the ceramic shell is cracked off to reveal the bronze parts. Next, the products are taken to our machine shop in Shoshone. The refining process for each part begins with the grinding down of parting lines and vibrating the pieces in a medium to further prepare the piece for finishing.
All of our chips and grinding dust, we take and recycle all that material, so there's really no byproduct whatsoever.
Once all machining is completed, it is then transported to Haley. The refining process is then completed with a secondary machining, a final vibratory and ceramic media, a patina, and a final polish, then assembled to the order specifications. At the end of the line, a finished hardware order awaits final approval and shipping in recycled boxes to the client, where it's mounted on the door and guaranteed for life.